everyone, and welcome to today's webinar hosted by Ciphr, Moving Mountains, the secrets behind a successful office move. It's great to have you with us today. I am joined by my colleagues Karen and Jess. Karen is Head of People Experience here at Ciphr, and Jess is our People Advisor. Welcome, Karen and Jess. How are you today?
Thank you. All good?
Morning, everyone.
Morning. Here's a quick look at today's agenda. I'm not going to read all of those headings out, but we're going to cover a lot of ground today about how our company moved offices from Marlow to Reading earlier this year, the considerations behind making that move, the planning phase of designing the new office, setting up our new space, and welcoming everyone and making it into a workable space for all of our people. So if you've got an office move coming up, you're in the right place, or if you're considering one, welcome. Please do get involved, send your thoughts and say hi to everyone in the chat. There's a welcome message in there, so you should be able to find that in the control panel. You can also use that chat function to send in your questions for Karen and Jess at any time, and we will tackle those towards the end, and we will do our best to give you some advice if you're also considering an office move. Just a quick overview of who we are as a software provider. If you're new to Ciphr, we are a provider of HR, payroll, learning and recruitment solutions that covers both software and services, including e-learning content. We won't be discussing any of those solutions in detail today, but if you do want to talk to us about your software needs, we're happy to talk. You can find us at ciphr.com, or you can email us at info@ciphr.com. The other side of Ciphr, which maybe we don't talk about as often, is who we are as a company. So we have around 200 employees, and our office is based in Reading, as I mentioned. All of our colleagues work hybridly, so you can see that Karen and myself are working at home today. Jess is actually in the office. So this office has been very much designed as a flexible hybrid space for our people to come into and to collaborate and work alongside each other. And there's some other things about us on screen. You can see our 4 core values, which are trust, accountability, service excellence, and authenticity. We have a culture club. We have various employee-led wellbeing groups and a predominantly millennial workforce. And all of those aspects are really important for the planning phase and consideration of what our office space needed to be. With that, I'm going to hand over to Karen and Jess to take you through the slides, and I'll be back at the end. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Catherine. So I'm going to talk mainly around the more strategic drivers that led to our office move and the considerations that needed to be made throughout the lengthy process and project that we undertook. So, and then Jess is going to chat more about how we actually did it and how we went about moving offices across quite a length of distance, as well as the length of time the project took. So the first consideration, and some of you may be in this place at the moment, is you're thinking, is our current home the right home for us from a geographical perspective, from a fundamental bricks and mortar perspective? And if you're in that position, there will be lots of things that you're going to be thinking about. For us, the key issues that were driving our move are displayed on the screen right there. We were originally based in Marlow. For those of you that know that neck of the woods, it's the most beautiful town sitting on the River Thames. But for its beauty and its location, brings with it challenges around transport links. So you may have heard of the Marlow Donkey. There was a single track railway in one line in, one line out. We were at the end of the line, serviced by Maidenhead. So for anyone to get to us using public transport, it was without doubt a huge challenge. So the majority of the workforce would drive whenever we needed to get into the office. The office itself was an aged building right in the centre of Marlow, with no parking save for a couple of underground spots. And that space, designed in the 1970s, offered very little options for collaboration. You'll see on the picture there, that was probably the largest space that we had that managed to fit in or squeeze in 2 banks of desks there. Everything else was small offices and lots of stairs. And I'm sure Jess will have a giggle when I say that. I remember the first time I ever went in the office, I got lost repeatedly, wondering which stairwell I was on and where it was going to take me to. The building, as I said, it was in the 1970s, it was dilapidated. We knew that the costs of dilapidation and rectifying those issues far exceeded the costs of considering another place. And so, you know, roofs were leaking. We'd walk around the office. There'd be buckets on the floors catching the drips, and that those were the least of our concerns at the time. So definitely, the quality of the building itself was a key driver in moving for us. With the nature of the building, I mentioned the stairs. There were clearly accessibility issues. There were 3 floors in the building and no lift. And in this day and age, that has to be another key consideration over office space. Is it accessible to all? And the answer in our place in Marlow was most definitely no. Some of you will be able to relate to this next point. During COVID, we took the opportunity to really cast our feelers out far and wide to get the very best talent that we could in the organisation. So we were recruiting from Northern Scotland, we were recruiting from Ireland. We didn't go much further than that, but certainly by the time we came out of COVID, our workforce was spread throughout the UK. And then we go back to the transport links point above. It was getting increasingly difficult for us to effectively get our people together in one place because of that issue. And then lastly, Marlow, it's a beautiful place. It's a very wealthy area. And therefore, being able to attract talent in that area that was diverse was also a challenge. And so all of those issues and challenges and considerations pulled together into us making a decision that a move to another location as well as another building was definitely the right thing for us. So what did we do with that then? It was time to search for a new home. And the considerations, again, that you'll see on that slide there were everything that we talked about, discussed and thought about in that search for that new magic nugget of a location. We wanted somewhere where, as a tech company, we could attract the right talent, but in a slightly less or slightly narrower geographical sphere. So we wanted somewhere that was known in the UK as being our version of Silicon Valley. We wanted it to be a hub for tech talent. We needed that building to be an open space for collaboration. Because of our geographically dispersed workforce and the fact that hybrid working was the norm, there wasn't going to be the need for everyone to have their own desk in the new office. But we wanted it to be a place where people could come in and be given the opportunity and the facilities to be able to collaborate effectively. So we needed that space. Coming off the back of an aged building, we wanted somewhere where maintenance costs would be low and fairly easy. We also, going back to the tech talent hub space, we wanted to be able to pull in from a more diverse talent range. So we needed somewhere that would give us the opportunity to do that. Accessibility, again, as I've mentioned earlier, was a key driver, as were those easy travel links. And so pulling all that together, Reading was our chosen destination. And so we had a very small team led by our Chief People and Operations Officer who set out the feelers, working with external agencies to find that right space. And we found it at 33 Blagrave Street in Reading, which is just round the corner from Reading Station. So already we're starting to tick some of those boxes on that screen that you'll see there. So we'll move into planning. Once we'd identified where the office was going to be, we needed to start thinking seriously about what we needed from that office. We've got some mock-ups there. We engaged with an external building contractor to be able to bring that empty shell of a space to life on the 3rd floor at Blagrave Street. So we had lots and lots of ideas about what we wanted it to look like. And those are the results that you'll see up there. The look and feel needed to correspond with our new branding. For those of you that know Ciphr will know that we rebranded at the start of the year and brought in with that whole palette of beautiful colours that lent themselves really well to a calm, spacious office environment. So you'll see some of those swatches on the screen there. We needed to make the space work for us for collaboration. We're going to showcase some of that later, but you'll see the office plan on the left-hand side of the slide there. You'll see that, yes, there are some spaces, but those are hot desking spaces where people can come in and make use of some really great desk facilities. But you'll also see on there that there's ample meeting room space being allocated, as well as some breakout collaboration areas as well. So we used an external provider to help us design exactly what we wanted that space to look like. And from that point on, we got a team together to manage the project really robustly. So we had one key project management team that met weekly, and they were made up of stakeholders throughout the business who were able to input productively into the project itself. Those project meetings, as I say, happened weekly. There was a robust project plan that sat behind that. And I think one thing that Jess has always stressed herself throughout this project, the real nugget of success in the project management was that weekly meetings were also held on site. Doing that remotely, we genuinely believe would not have made for as effective project management as actually doing it in the actual location of the new office itself. So the project plan itself encompassed lots of different areas, not just the physical act of moving from one place to another. Jess is going to talk you through what that looked like in a bit. But it also involved all the key other areas of consideration. So finance, we had representation from the finance team on the project, the people team, and within our people team, we include engagement and internal communications in that area. And then each department had representation on the project team as well. So we were really, really keen to ensure that every area of the business was able to have a say and have an input into that project. I mentioned communication, and my job title is Head of People Experience. This is what I'm all about. We were really, really keen to bring our people along on the journey. And this, I think, was probably the key element of success in this whole office move, was that we kept our people informed from the start of the consideration to move right the way through into embedding ourselves into our new office. So our comms plan was really, really integral to that main project plan. We actually started the engagement this time last year. So we moved into our new offices at the end of January, but the engagement with our people started a year ago, and it started in our annual employee engagement survey. So instead of doing our usual survey questions, we added in a section around understanding the feeling, the appetite and the requirements that our people would have in a move to another office. So we were very, very measured in some of those questions so that we could understand the impact on them. And then from that point on, we were sure to include our people every step of the way. So you'll see some of the various different elements of activity that we undertook on this slide there. We were really, really clever in our use of company all hands and town hall meetings to keep everyone updated on progress. Managers were briefed in advance. We used a cascade approach to get our messaging out to our people. We didn't exclude our customers in our communication either. So our marketing teams, our sales, our implementation, our customer service teams, everyone with a direct outlet to our customers, made sure that we were letting them know exactly where we were in our office move. We did not need to or want to go down a formal consultation approach with our people. Now, that's simply because we were only moving a 20-mile distance away from our original place. For some of you on the call, if it's something you're considering, formal consultations may be needed. And again, that is entirely based on your population, the nature of their contracts, etc. For us, it wasn't necessary. But that didn't mean we didn't want to touch base with our people on a one-to-one basis to fully understand the impact that the office move was going to have on them. We had some people, for example, that were based 20 meters from the office. They had, they lived across the road from our original office. And so therefore, a move from Marlow with, as I've explained already, its poor transport links to a city centre in Reading was going to be a challenge. For others, cost was an implication, childcare was an implication, caring responsibilities were an implication. And so we scheduled employee one-to-ones with everyone in the business to fully understand the impact. And we were really successful in being able to adapt contracts, adapt travel allowances and hours of work, flexible working, to meet the needs of absolutely everyone in the business as a result of those one-to-ones. We don't have an intranet yet at Ciphr. It's on our plan for the next 6 months. But what we were able to do was create a little mini intranet to service the office move, and we called it our Future of Work site. We used the SharePoint functionality that was available to us, but what that meant was that every piece of information about the office move was able to be homed or housed in one central location. And we've got a screenshot of one of those pages on that mini intranet there for you. The beauty of that was we've been able to capitalize on that, and our new intranet moving forward is highly likely just to be built on what we achieved there, which was really great. So, and we'll talk about this in top tips later. I think for us, and Jess will, I'm sure, and no doubt disagree or agree, communication was the #1 driver in making sure that everyone was on board there. One other thing that we did that we took advantage of was we used the office move and everything that was going on around that as an opportunity to transform our ways of working at Ciphr. Up until the point of the office move, everything that we did regarding ways of working had happened by osmosis, had happened by chance, had happened as a result of COVID. And so we had a bit of a disparity across departments in ways of working, and certainly no one way of doing any particular thing at Ciphr. And so those 6 areas that you'll see on the slide there are 6 key things that we took the opportunity to change as a result of the office move. So the first point was we simplified our working types. We had lots of different varieties of the way people worked. Some were in the office once a week, some 5 a week, some not at all. So what we did is we defined 3 specific working types. So office hybrid, those are teams that will be in the office a couple of days a week to collaborate and work together. Normally, or predominantly, that's our sales function, our finance function in particular. We've got some teams that are flexi remote, so they will come into the office as and when is required. The people team is a great example of that. We will come in whenever it is needed for onboarding purposes of new starters, for supporting teams joining anchor days, or whenever else the team is needed to come in. And then we have a team that are fully remote. So they work from home or an external location full time, but they will come into the office once a month for their team anchor day. So again, that was a great opportunity taken there to simplify our working types. We also streamlined how we manage diaries, how we manage meetings, and how we manage communication around the business. Again, it was very haphazard up until the point of the office move, but we produced diary guides and we delivered training so that we're all singing off the same hymn sheet in the way that we manage diaries. Our diaries are all now fully visible to everyone in the organisation so that we can be more measured in the way that we set up meetings. Everyone is now using properly the scheduler functionality on Outlook to make sure that meeting invites are not sent out willy-nilly without any consideration. And it really is starting to make us work more effectively and free up time in our diaries. We also introduced Meeting-free Friday as a result of this piece of work. It's not mandated, but what we're seeing every month is more and more people blocking off that full Friday to focus on end of week functional or topical or tactical tasks to end the week really productively. And meetings are only put in their diaries as an absolute last resort. And that has been really well received. We took the opportunity to really update our cohort of fire wardens, first aiders and mental health first aiders as well. And we invested in some training to really get those numbers up. And we've got some healthy cohorts now in all of those areas. Previously, fire wardens were only those people that worked in the office regularly. But with our new hybrid way of working, we need to make sure that we have a greater volume of people trained in those areas to be able to cover the office at all times. We also took the opportunity to streamline our contracts. Nothing major, certainly nothing fundamental was changed, but it means that everyone has a consistent contract or type of contract in the business now as well. We updated our expenses policy, which hadn't been done for years. It was a great opportunity, now that we have just 3 working types, to be able to update expenses and make sure that that's fair across the board. And finally, we created our new culture club, which is managed actually by Jess. We'd never had one before, but now we have a formal social committee called the Culture Club. And I know you're all singing Karma Chameleon right now, because every time we say that word, we do as well. But a really great team of people who just put events together and make sure that that collaboration is also a social collaboration as well as a professional one, which is really cool. So that's the more kind of strategic element of our office move, and you're all sick of hearing my voice now. So I'm going to move over to Jess, and she's going to talk through how she actually moved us and 200 odd people from one location to another. Over to you, Jess.
Hey everyone. So yeah, like Karen said, talking through a bit of the logistics of how we moved, and also the first sort of movement that we had in the office, the first couple of weeks as well, and sort of the activities that we did. So yeah, at the beginning of January, so once we had that project in place and we were in a position to look at the logistics of actually vacating our old office, we kicked off the process. We conducted an audit of every single bit of furniture, every bit of IT equipment, and we found so many items in drawers, cupboards. I'm sure you can imagine all the kinds of weird and wonderful things we found. And looking at that middle picture, Caitlin is holding up a really old bottle of ketchup. But that's something that we considered essential for the move, is sort of cataloguing every item that helped us determine what could be repurposed, what needed to be disposed of. And we made sure we allocated certain rooms for items that were moving, items that were being disposed of, and sort of repurposed furniture as well. So we created a bit of a guide for employees to put items in. So we actually organised an open day for our employees to take the furniture that we were not taking with us to Reading. So if you are sort of considering a move yourselves and you have furniture that you're not looking to take with you, but is still in really good condition, definitely in support of an open day for employees to take some furniture. So we had people coming in, taking tables apart, office chairs were snatched up. We had a line queuing half an hour before we actually opened the doors. But it helped us also promote that sustainability in the office and reduce waste. We even got a shout out from the auditors from our ISO 14001, which was really great. But it was a great way to ensure that our furniture found a new home within the organisation and support, as I said, support that sustainability as well. For items that couldn't be repurposed, we knew it was, we had to obviously remove the items, but we wanted to do it in a, again, environmentally friendly way. So we actually found a company who would provide certificates of a duty of care for all disposed items. So we went with Creative Interiors, which were a local company. And they actually came sort of later that day to take everything down. They worked really quickly, finishing off the process in 2 days. But they, as I said, they prioritise environmentally friendly disposal methods. So we just wanted to make sure that all waste was managed responsibly and adhering to all sort of health and safety as well. So we checked all of their certifications beforehand. So we thought that was something really key in getting the removal of everything from Abbey House as well. And of course, we ran into a couple of obstacles that we hadn't even thought about that weren't on the project plan. So it's bound to happen in a project. But I mean, for example, we had electric charger ports for cars that we didn't have in the plan at first. we realized we had 2 garages full of office equipment that we also needed to remove. So of course there's going to be things that crop up that you haven't even thought of yet, but always important to stick those on the plan and continue as best as you can. But these logistics were critical to our success. So we sort of coordinated, like I said, the removal and the furniture on the same day, the office open day, sorry, so we could remove everything at once. And then we coordinated with movers. So we moved on the 15th of February. So it took a couple of weeks to sort of from the removal of everything to actually getting the move sorted. So we just ensured that people were available both at the old office and the new office. So the logistics of how we were going to let people into the old building, but also let the movers into the new building. But luckily they could sort of collect items on one day and deliver the next, which was much better for our team who were helping unpack. And it helped us achieve that smooth transition. So as we neared the end of the process, as we neared the end of the process, we handled the handover of keys, alarms, utilities, everything that needed to be sent back to the landlord. And this was the final step that ensured all that those administrative details were addressed and allowed us to leave the old office in good order and ready for its next occupants as well. Perfect. So setting up our new home. So from the beginning of January until we opened the new office, we met every Monday with the designers, office principals, like Karen said. We thought that was critical and really key to ensure that we would view the progress of the build, discuss any snags, have any updates on both the design and the build. It was also really easy for us to visualize the designs on site. So if you are sort of considering an office move and you found somewhere that needs to be sort of built up, I guess, and you're working on the design, it is, we found being on site weekly was absolutely key. But we could also see the area, so we could tell people what sort of was around the area, I guess. So we knew that we had a lovely green area to eat lunch in, sort of a wide range of restaurants and places to eat, and of course the shopping, which is also lethal for lunchtime shops. But we could let people know in advance what was around the area, and like Karen said, the transport links and everything, we could test it out, work out what's best, how was best to get to the office. We saw what parking spaces were available, bike racks, all of that. So we found it really, really useful to be on site. But the build itself took shape so quickly. It was really exciting to see the progress being made. We had amazing discussion around the decor, colour schemes, and like Karen said, supporting our new branding. And we discussed sort of frosting on the meeting room glass and windows, and we wanted to create a living wall, and we're so happy we chose to do this, where sort of power outlets were going to be put in, obviously considering meeting rooms, how many people were going to be in the meeting rooms, how many power outlets we needed, where we were going to put the TVs, air conditioning for our IT comms room and the office, Wi-Fi in the office. So all considerations that we had to make to ensure that our office was functioning fully by the time we allowed people to come in. We kept our employees intrigued and engaged by adding in a bit of a weekly live broadcast in our town hall meeting from the new office. So it was Claire, our Chief People and Operations Officer, would walk around the office to so everyone could see the build and see the progress being made. And it was great to see everyone excited for that as well. So the fit out and setup. So once the build was completed, it took around 2 weeks from when they handed over the keys to letting people through the door. So there was a lot of work to get through with how we wanted it to look, but it was so much fun. We had an amazing time setting up the new office and adding sort of personal touches to make it really inviting and really exciting for people to see. the only help we received was installing the actual sort of furniture, the desks, the meeting room tables, everything like that. But everything else we did ourselves, as we couldn't subcontract anyone else to do this. So that included shopping for plants, buying toiletries, food and drink, and building any additional flat pack furniture. Of course, we had to get a Billy bookcase from IKEA, which Karen and the team put up themselves. We created sort of a lovely space for that as well. So there was so much to think about, but it was a lot of fun in the process. So yeah, we started with allowing the furniture to be built before we added anything else, just to make sure that the desks were in the right place. I mean, we all got involved with getting under the desks and putting all the cables and connections in as well. So really sort of heavily involved in all of that, addressing any snags that came up in the process as well. So we actually set up different areas in the office as well. So we added neighbourhoods to our office, and these areas help support specific sort of team collaborations, help us create a more organised and efficient workspace layout. So like Karen mentioned, sort of the different teams coming in, whether they're hybrid, remote. So our teams that were on site, we wanted dedicated spaces for them to sit. So we created sort of neighbourhoods and allocated some areas to teams, but the anchor days, people can come in and sit where they like in a hot desk situation. So yeah, we also included everyone in the progress. So like Karen said, sort of that keeping employees informed, but also keeping them involved as well was really key. So we wanted them to have a say in what our neighbourhoods would look like, our meeting room names as well. So we asked our employees to vote on what they wanted to call them. We were surprised we didn't have a boat face situation, but our winner for the neighbourhoods was our values, as you can see from one of the signs there, authenticity. And we put up signs up over each neighbourhood. And our meeting room names were famous people who came from Reading. We do have a meeting room name called Bond, which is Michael Bond, not to be confused with James Bond, which I always think it is. But we wanted to add personal touches to the office that we hadn't been able to do at Abbey House. Like Karen mentioned, it was an old building. It wasn't decorated how we wanted it to be. It was hard to visualize what our office would look like, and I mean what it looks like now. So we had trips to IKEA, B&M, you name it, and yeah, we just wanted to make it really warm and inviting for people to come in and to be excited to come into the office. So yeah, we bought food and drink and toiletries to fully stock the office out. We had things to consider that we hadn't had before, like we had showers in the office. So making sure they were all, we had sort of shower gel, towels, everything like that. And something that we hadn't thought of as well was food and drink. So we fully stocked the office, but we hadn't thought of what we're going to do when we run out. Where are we going to get supplies from? Do we need a supplier, or can we shop online? So those were all considerations that we had to think about in the process as well. We do have a lovely balcony area as well, so getting furniture for the balcony so people can sit out there in their lunchtime, or even meetings out there to make it a little bit more sort of nicer for people to have sort of one-to-ones out there as well. With the plants, as you can see from the picture, some bigger than the tallest member of the people team, we wanted to shop locally to support the area. So we found a wonderful plant shop just around the corner from the office, and we bought, I believe it was 10 of those, and you can see one of them in the background of the video. So we had a trolley. You can see the picture there of me pushing the trolley, but that really did become our best friend. So we had a food and drink shop in there. We had the plants in there, everything. So we had a new coffee machine. So we had somebody come in to teach us how to use it. It's an app on a tablet that you can use. It's called a top brewer coffee machine. And you can download an app as well and tap a button to make coffee from your desk. But just got to make sure you leave a mug underneath. I've definitely done that before. So we had to have demonstration on the machine of how to use it, how to get it all set up. And that was a consideration that we also had to make with sort of cleaners that come in as well, showing them how to use that. So we had a couple of odd jobs that weren't included in the project plan, adding shelves, putting mirrors up in the bathrooms, a lockbox. So we had a last minute handyman come into the office to help us put these bits up. Something else as well that we hadn't considered was blinds. So we had them fitted after we moved, as we didn't realize how much the sun came through the window. So, but I mean, even though that was done after the move, it's all those considerations that we needed to make as we moved along the process. So, I mean, the move itself was set up easy. It could have been stressful, as we added a lot of different aspects that we hadn't done in the old office, and things we had to pick up and organise. However, with the plan in place, the project plan, and the collaboration across the different teams, everyone's sort of enthusiasm with that and creativity made the progress enjoyable, rewarding. We wanted to get the first 2 weeks in the office right as well. It absolutely brought us closer as a team, and I'd do it all over again. But we're also still continuously learning about what works and what doesn't in the office. So we created an email which people can email us to make any suggestions, as it's their office just as much as we put it together. It's their home. So health, safety and security. I know Karen touched upon this slightly, but so we also had to make sure that we ensured that health and safety of our employees was a top priority. So we implemented a couple of measures. So for fire safety, we installed sort of brand new fire extinguishers and trained fire marshals. As we were rearranging our ways of working and having sort of dedicated anchor days for teams, first aiders and fire marshals were more spread out coming into the office. So we had to ensure that we had an adequate number of first aiders and marshals for that coverage. So for first aid, we did some first aid training, and we had sort of fully stocked first aid boxes that we attached to the walls. But a lovely way of showing who was a first aider, a mental health first aider, or sort of fire warden, we got these lovely sort of cards to put on your lanyard, so individuals can be easily identified, which was something that we didn't have in the old office as well. We also had to decide on a visitors process. We realised that we could let visitors up from downstairs with the buzzer, but once they got into the lift, that they couldn't get in unless they were sort of tapping on the door and someone happened to walk past. So we installed a doorbell. Another thing that we hadn't thought of, but we added afterwards. So a lot of different factors that came into the equation afterwards, which is great that we managed to sort of put those measures in place really quickly. But it was great to see people getting involved with suggestions that we could use as well. Something that we did think about was fobs. So we use a Paxton system for all employees to get into the office. So just making sure that we had sufficient fobs for every single employee, and visitor fobs as well. But also work on the process for new starters and leavers, for example. That's something that we hadn't considered, who was going to own that process. So cleaning, we moved the cleaners over from our old office to the new office, as we already had a relationship with them. We knew that they were reliable, so it was just in case of meeting the new cleaners, showing them the space, showing them how we wanted the presentation of the office to look and feel. And we also needed to ensure that all employees were up to speed with health and safety and fire safety in the new office. So we started to create a plan for the first 2 weeks to support this. Karen, I think you were going to talk about the desk booking app.
And also, just in case anyone notices or hears, I'm having some work done at home. Typically, it's gone very noisy, but hopefully it shouldn't distract anyone. Yeah, one key thing that we've introduced as a result of the office move that I would highly recommend is a desk booking app. Now, as we've said earlier, we moved from anyone coming in whenever they wanted to in the office and finding a desk. And we actually had some people who were 5 days a week in the office through their choice, had set up their own desks with pictures of their pets and pot plants, etc., and Haribo in the drawers. We were moving away from that, so no one had their own desk. So it was really, really important that we reduce the stress of any individual coming into the office and not knowing if they were going to get a seat or not. So we've gone from over 150 desks down to 40 desks. So it was really, really important that this was managed efficiently. We used a desk booking app called Office RND. There are others available, but the great thing about this one is it can be an app on your phone. It embeds into Teams, or you can use it as a standalone on a browser. But anyone in the organisation, knowing when they're coming into the office, can book a desk, a meeting room, or fight for one of the 4 parking spaces that we've got in the underground car park. And all of those things, plus any visitors that are due into the office, can be reserved and booked on using the desk booking app. And wholeheartedly across the business, unanimously, it has been received exceptionally well. It's not a huge financial investment, but it's really bringing some quite significant rewards to engagement in the office. Jess, I think the next one's yours. You're going to showcase the office on a video that Catherine took this week.
Absolutely.
Showcase the office. What I should say, if anyone on the call would like to come and see it in the flesh, just get in touch. We're more
zone for visitors as well. So on to welcome to Ciphr Reading, which is the exciting part. So like I said, we started to create a plan for those first 2 weeks of people coming into the office. So we opened the office on the 26th of February. And to kick things off, to make sure that we were organised, we created a bit of a daily schedule to help employees navigate the new office environment, as we realised it was going to be so different from the old office. We wanted people to feel, to come in, know exactly what they were doing, and have a bit of fun as well. So we created a 2-week agenda. And we had a welcome breakfast. So we made sure that we had sort of pastries, cereal, food and drink, everything, as a bit of an introduction to the new office. So as they came in, they would see our signs, sort of welcome to Ciphr Reading, and they would also sort of collect their new fob as well, hand back in their old fob. So it was a bit of an event for them. So. And then we also did our office tour. So like I said, with the health and safety and fire safety, that was really important for employees to get some guidance on. So we had an office tour. We gathered everyone together and we gave them sort of key updates on health and safety, information security. It gave us an opportunity to go through everything, whether the muster point was, first aid boxes, how to use our brand new sort of tech equipment, and we gave everyone sort of alarm codes for the office, what to do when you're first in, last out, use of the balcony, phone booths, and where the watering can was for the plants as well, you name it. So it was a great chance for us to engage our employees and get them excited about the new space, as well as sort of giving them a bit of a VIP tour as well. We did a ways of working session. So like Karen talked you through, we changed our ways of working to fit the new office space for that collaboration. So Karen took the team through sort of the new Ciphr ways as well. We also wanted the first 2 weeks to be valuable for every employee coming to the office. So we had photo opportunities for teams, and also a chance to have individual headshots next to sort of the leafy wall, which was quite nice. We had coffee making demos of the new coffee machine, and we had competitions. So we had guess the number of coffee beans in the jar. So it was really fun to get everybody involved, and we also had the privilege of having CIPD and CIPP in the office for an opening ceremony as well, which was fantastic. So yeah, we made these first 2 weeks an event to make that excitement from the countdown on the internet and the live broadcast from the office to continue once people were in the office. And it was great to see people staying after to socialise in the kitchen after a day that they've come into the office. Something that we added later was a bit of a drinks trolley, obviously alcoholic, non-alcoholic drinks coming around the office after hours. We also had sort of table tennis, so we had competitions as well. But it was these first 2 weeks was so pivotal in working out what worked best for the office, what business as usual would look like as well, because we only had us as a people team in the office and IT teams. So we had to look at considerations. So we had to up our milk order twice because we didn't realise how much we needed. Adding blinds, adding content to our TVs as well, that included the schedule for the day. Learning what music worked, because we had a new Sonos system, and the volume that worked. That some people like to work with music, some people don't. So getting that right was really key as well. Where the bins needed to be placed, and so much more. Something that we took from that was not that we didn't think of that, or we didn't think of this, but embracing the fact that everyone's getting involved and playing a part of what worked best and contributing to the future of our office. Like I said, it's the employee's home, so it's great that everyone has a say. And that leads us on to the Culture Club. So I know Karen touched on this as well. So as we settled into the new office, we just wanted to ensure that we were committed to deliver on the promises that we made for a more social and collaborative space and culture. So we took a chance to create the Culture Club. And the plan was to sort of execute activities that promote team bonding, morale, give a bit of a sense of community among employees as well. So it was a crucial part of ensuring that our new office wasn't just a place to work, but where people enjoy working. We wanted to include people from around the business, so it's employee-led rather than led by the people team or senior management. So having people from across different teams was really key in getting this set up as well. So we meet every other week to discuss any events we want to schedule, any key dates coming up that we wanted to highlight. We've organised a pub quiz, a hybrid quiz, charity bake sale for Mind. We had a highlight on Mental Health Awareness Week, with conversation starters, a town hall takeover, and there's plenty more to come as well. So the idea was to build a culture that supported what we wanted to achieve with that office move, and like I said, continue that on into the journey of our office. So on to tips. Karen, I will hand back over to you if that's okay.
Yeah, sure. We love to end our webinars with just some top tips that pulls everything that we've talked about in the last 45 minutes into one place. And so, you know, Jess and I racked our brains, and we've come up with the 4 that you see on the screen at the moment. You'll have sensed throughout this whole webinar that the key thing for us was communication, involving our people. If people have a say in something, they are more likely to be engaged in it. You know, that's not rocket science. And so we made sure that every step of the way, when we were in a position to disclose information, we disclosed it. So use cascades, use town hall meetings, use intranets, use email, use social media, get your people involved at every step of the way. And I suppose that goes in with step 2 as well, Jess, doesn't it? It's never underestimate the power of communication. You cannot communicate too much. You cannot communicate using too many channels, provided the messaging is consistent. Do everything you can to get that message out there. Be available and be compassionate. You know, on the surface, asking employees to move a 20-mile distance from one office to the other, you could be forgiven for assuming it's not that big a deal, but for some it was. You know, those with, as I mentioned earlier, with caring responsibilities, those, you know, who would struggle from having no commuting costs to substantial commuting costs in their minds. It was a big deal for them. And what we were able to do was, through the one-to-ones that we used, able to treat everyone individually, and their circumstances without fail were taken into account and addressed. And I think we're all pretty confident, Jess, aren't we, as a people team, that, you know, everyone was looked after financially and from a flexible working perspective during the office move and beyond. And then number 4 is, we thought, you know, we're really thankful that we took the opportunity to use the office move as a way to review our wider ways of working. And again, back to point 1, involve your people in this. We got working groups together to help us identify what good looks like and what best practice would need to be moving forward to help us get there. So this wasn't a directive from above. It wasn't a directive from the people team. You must manage your diaries like this. Our people came up with the solutions. So those would be our 4 top tips. And Catherine, I think we've just got a few moments to answer some questions that have come through.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, now is the time. If you have questions for Karen and Jess, please send them in using the chat. We've had a couple drip through already, but not that many. So do send them in. First question that I'll put to you is advice on moving computer hardware, data recovery plans and setting up in the new office.
So this is where we're probably going to fall down there, Catherine, because I'm a last minute substitution into this webinar today, and the person I have substituted would probably be able to answer that one. It was managed as a sub-project as part of the main project plan. I have actually, when I saw that come through, reached out to our IT team to see if I could get a more measured response. And the response I have been given was we didn't have any data stored in the office. Everything was cloud-based. So that did make for a bit of an easier process for us. But it's Google Earth, I think, that's asked that question. If you would like to reach out directly, if it's something that you're going to be involved in yourself, I can put you into contact with our internal IT team, who will be more than happy to give you any advice that you need.
Awesome. Thanks, Karen. I've had another question From Samantha. So do you have any reservations from employees about not going through a formal consultation process? And if so, how did you manage that?
Did we have any reservations? No, not really, because of the way that we approached it. We took advice. We're HR experts anyway within the people team, but we did take further advice from our legal teams around whether there were any contractual commitments that that meant we would need to go down a more formal consultation route. And the idea was that no, it wasn't. So it was done less formally than that, but in a very measured way. Those one-to-ones were opportunities. They were opportunities for us to hear their concerns and address their concerns as well. And every decision that was made from some of our people, for example, we've been able to support with travel allowances if they were going to be out of pocket, and in some respects being able to change their method of working so that their contracts become expensible. That makes sense, so they can claim expenses. But there was no one size fits all, so it was done in a consultation approach, but just not formally. I hope that answers that question.
Awesome, thanks, Karen. I've got another question from Fern. What would you recommend to win the hearts and minds of those giving up permanent desks to begin hybrid flexi working? I mean, this isn't an issue that we experienced in this particular move, but it might be something you have experience of elsewhere, Karen.
Yeah, Jess, are you happy for me to answer this one again? I don't want to take over. One thing that we were able to do is switch on a recurring booking system on our desk booking app. Initially, that we let that out for a month in advance, so people are able to book the same if they want a month in advance. And so the advice to them was just make sure that you are organised, and that if it is a particular desk that you want, that you're booking it in advance for the days you're going to be in. And also providing lockers. We have got a bank of lockers that we've provided. So if anyone does anyone that follows Insights, you'll know it's a characteristic of someone that leads with Earth Green Energy. They like their things around them. They can put any things that they want around them in the lockers, and bring them out when they need to.
Lovely, thank you, Karen. Let me just check the chat. Samantha says, love the idea of letting staff take home redundant items. Did all staff work from home during this period, or was it after you moved in the new office that you dealt with the closure of the old?
It's one for Jess.
So apologies, I forgot to mention that. But so we closed the old office on the 26th of January. And moved into the new office on the 26th of Feb. So it was exactly a month apart. We did ask everybody to work from home that month. There was some considerations that we hadn't thought of. We had a new starter within a team that was heavily sort of office based. So we made some choices around sort of what we do with the new starter and where we do the training. Some of that was remote, so we did hire out a place near our old office as well to support them. So like I said, sort of considerations we hadn't made before. But yeah, we did ask everybody to work from home during that period that we had in between. And I think everyone was happy to do so because they were all sort of excited to get into the new office when it opened as well.
Sure. And a follow-up question to that we've had sent in was, how early did you do the furniture audit and kind of understanding what you would keep? As an employee, it felt really early on to me that you were doing that quite far out. There were regular updates about what was available and pictures of them on Teams and Yammer.
So we decided to do an audit at the very sort of beginning of the year, just so we had everything down on paper, just in case we did miss anything. We had to be out of the office and hand over the keys by the end of January. So making sure that we accounted for every single item, we did have 3 floors, so it was quite a large space. We had to make sure that things that we didn't know were waste or that we wanted to move. So I know that we had a marketing cupboard that we asked somebody to Charlotte to come in and sort of look at everything. And we had obviously people in that didn't come into the office regularly that did have things in lockers. So we had to make sure that we had enough time for people to come in that were further based sort of remotely, to come in and get stuff that they wanted to get out. So that time between sort of doing an audit and allowing people to come in gave us the opportunity to ask employees to come in to take anything that was theirs before we started giving out sort of furniture and everything else that we had available, and starting to sort of take everything away as well, take everything down, and the removal of everything else.
Awesome, thanks, Jess. I'm just going to close with one question because I realise we're running slightly over time. Somebody else, like, how did you get to understanding the number of desks that you needed in the workspace, like understanding that was your ideal capacity or maximum capacity, like a workable size office?
I'd love to, actually, that relates to Samantha's question about how did we go down from 150 to 40. I would absolutely love to say that we did that scientifically, but we didn't. What we did was we worked out across our teams a way of how to disperse the usage of the office over 5 days, whereas previously, post-COVID, I think you'll agree, Catherine and Jess, we were in there was a couple of days a week, a Tuesday, Wednesday, sometimes a Thursday when the office was really busy, but then Thursday afternoons, Fridays, Mondays were quiet. So we came up with a schedule where anchor days, where teams are all in together, either on a weekly or monthly basis, are now spread out across the week. Board meetings, again, everything that would involve a bulk or a group of people coming in at any one time, we have looked at it and planned it out across the week. So every department has allocated weekly or monthly days in the office. And that's how we managed to be a bit more measured, but not scientifically. Didn't do it.
Okay, thanks so much. Right, I think that brings us to the end of a full hour. Thank you everyone for joining. Thank you, Karen and Jess, for sharing so much information and being so honest and transparent about our office move. This has all been recorded, so if you're watching live, you can go and catch up or share this recording with a colleague. Otherwise, it just remains to say thank you so much for joining us. There'll be a survey at the end of the broadcast just asking you for a bit of feedback. Please take the time to fill that in if you can. If you want to find out anything about what we do in terms of products and services, we're online at ciphr.com, or you can reach out to us at info@ciphr.com. Otherwise, have a great rest of your day, and we hope to see you at another webinar again soon. Take care. Goodbye. Bye.